Hey everybody, it's Matthew of Mr. Domestic. This video is all about using those other stitches on your sewing machine. Specifically, this is going to be using the machine applique stitch, at least that's what it's called on Felicia. And this is a great stitch whenever you want to attach English paper piecing, whenever you have a shape with a folded over edge that you want to put on some fabric. It kind of looks like a hand blanket stitch. So if people don't ask, it's not like you're lying or anything. If they don't ask right, then they'll think that you hand sewed it. So I'm working on two projects in this video. The first one is going to be a smaller heart, and I used a 50 weight light pale Aurifil thread to attach this, and it's going to go over the basic preparation of the heart and then the attaching of it. And then this one I quilted on it, and I'm going to show you my quilting part of it. But for the applique, I used a 28 weight Aurifil, very dark navy, and I've even used 80 weight Aurifils on something very delicate. You can barely see it. My preference is to have a longer stitch, but you can also have a shorter stitch, and it kind of looks like a hand applique if you do that. So this is a very economical, easy breezy way to make something look fancy pants. So if that's what you're here to learn, then before we get into the content, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and anytime you're feeling it, like my video. So let's get ready to have some fun together. This video focuses on machine appliquing English paper piecing, but it can also apply to any time you would want to do traditional needle turn applique, but you're just not feeling like doing the hand sewing. Or if you have like a shape that doesn't have a raw edge, this is my preferred technique for that. So I have this heart, I've had it for a year, and I'm like, let's put it on a nifty piece of denim and make a cute little pillow for Helena. So this is what you need. You need something that already has the edges curved over, like an English paper piecing project, or just a shape or a circle that you want to put on the fabric. And then, as you can see here, this is just a tip that I have. Anytime you're doing this with a lighter color, like these two are lighter, you can see through it, I'll put some fusible interfacing on the other side of it, just so that you can't see through it. So that's a little tip that I have. And you need these. You need your back fabric. You'll need a rotary cutter. You'll need a ruler. I'm going to use a Sharpie for the drawing, but you might not want to do that if you don't want to accidentally get any on here, but I'm using it for the purposes of the video. And then you need some kind of double stick fusible webbing. For this, I'm using light Steam-A-Seam, but there's not necessarily a brand that I prefer. This is just what I have right now. So I've pulled one out, and there's always a grid on one side of it, and that's the side that I prefer to draw on. So essentially all I'm going to do right now is trace this shape. Let's do it this way. And it doesn't have to be exact. And as you can see, I'm tracing right outside of it so that I don't get ink on my precious fabric. And so far, so good. And why this is okay to go on the outside, because now I'm going to cut on the inside. I'm not going to cut on the line. I want this, because it's going to stick on the back of this, to be slightly smaller than that. So, I love this product. It's super awesome. And this is thin enough to where if you wanted to, you could quilt over it. I've done this various different ways. I've quilted over it. I've just accented it. I've quilted behind it. There's no one way to do it, but for this, the simplicity of this one is I'm just putting it right on denim, and denim is thick enough of a substrate to where I really don't have to do anything to it. So, ta-da! Can you see it? Can you see it? Boom! You can't see it behind it. So now, this comes off. Boom. Doesn't matter which side, really. And this is tacky enough to where you don't have to iron it at this stage. And it's repositionable. Woo! want to make sure that there's none on the overhangs. Boom, 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 here. So now I'm going to iron it on this side to make sure that it adheres before I take that back thing off. So I have my trusty Rowenta. It is on a high heat with some steam. And this is just enough to set it. You don't have to like go to town with ironing it. And then you can tell if it's set because then the sticky side will stay. Woo! And the sticky side is indeed staying. Let me take this one from, see this part, it started to lift up a bit, so I just have to press this. And I'll hit it from the other end. We got this hot. This is still a little hot, so it might not come off. Okay. Ta-da! And scene. So now, grab the backing fabric. And I like to estimate on everything because it takes less time. So I'm going to try and put this center. That looks about center. It looks okay to me. I'm fine with that placement. And then I'm just going to set it a little bit on this fabric, enough to where I can flip it over. And then the real set it and forget it moment goes here. And this is where I'm going to go to town with ironing because this is going to permanently affix it to the backing fabric before I take it over to my sewing machine. And now this is good to go, and I am going to go to Felicia and use what on her is called a machine applique stitch, but it looks like a traditional blanket stitch for hand sewers. So now I'm over at Felicia, and this is what the quilting applique stitch, what is called that, on my machine looks like. But if you have multiple stitches on your machine, this is what it will be. And I have set the width at 3 millimeters and the length at 2 millimeters. And then you just go to town with it, and it'll go this way and start wherever. And it's okay if it catches the fabric. It's okay if it doesn't catch the fabric right on the edge. I'm talking about the straight part of it, the straight line. But this will hold it in nice and gorgeous, and you don't have to worry about it. Let me get around this corner. So this is how I get around the corner, is that I stop right there, and then I'll pivot, and then I'll just continue. But I want to make sure that the needle has gotten back to where it's about to stitch a straight stitch and not the cross stitch. Otherwise it'll look a little janky. So I'll fast forward this so you don't have to see it. But this is all there is to it. And here I am getting to the end. I'm gonna back stitch, set it in place. Cut it. And here we go. Wow. That is pretty, pretty, pretty. I decided to add a little bonus to this video and show y'all how I quilt everything other than the English paper piecing applique piece. And essentially, I just, whatever my quilting is, here I'm doing straight lines. And I just quilt to the stopping point of whatever the piece is, and then I'll leave a little excess so that I can hide the knots in the end. But that's essentially what I do. And it takes time, but it's so worth it. Okay, so another bonus in this video is I'm going to show you how to hide these knots. And just FYI where this is coming from, this is the front, and this is where I stopped. Just short of the English paper piecing piece. And so I always hide the knots from the back. And I left some that I can show you in real time. And what I do is I'll take one and I'll pull on it. And then I'll just get that front one all the way through. Don't pull too hard or you'll pull too many stitches, and then I'll double knot it. And then I have a self-threading needle. Oh gosh, that was the best tip that someone gave me online for doing that. And I'll use the self-threading needle. Then I'll put it right there through the hole. Make it go maybe an inch, half of an inch, just have it go through a little bit. Pull it out. Then you'll tug to where this bunches, and then snip. And then ta-da, you hit the knot. What? That's crazy. And this can be used on quilting projects, on anything where you have thread. I even use it on apparel. When you have thread that you want to hide, but you don't want to weaken this intersection or where this is, because if you were to snip it, then it would fray, right? It would open up and fray. So here it is again. Then you grab the thread from the front, pull it all the way out. And all you have to do is tug on that bobbin thread just a little bit. Double knot it. If you want to feel super secure, you can triple knot it. Then use that self-threading needle. There you go. Boom. Have it go through. I'll show you this in real time. Then you bunch that up. Snip it. Just rub it with something. You can't even tell where it went out. And then I'll go ahead, just for the fun of it, I'll do these three, but I'll do it fast forwarded just because that's fun to watch. And this is the final one that I am hiding. Now all of the knots are hidden. Let me flip it back over so you can see that magic. And voila, voila, you can't even tell. And I found just by doing this, it allows this one to poof out just enough to where you don't even have to go around the perimeter again or do any of that. It is just good to go. So there you go. And now you are ready to use one of those other stitches on your sewing machine that you never knew how to use. So if you enjoyed this video, had some fun, laughed at me, got some tips or tricks, then make sure to give it the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So keep it positive, y'all. Mr. Domestic out. Thanks for watching my video. You can subscribe on the right, just click on my face and watch some of my other videos on the left.